Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Frank Zacarri, and you are watching Life-Altering Events. Now, we all know some of the hardest decisions we have to make are during times when we face our greatest adversities. Our life has been altered, maybe forever. The situation appears bleak, but now we have a choice. We can choose to fall apart, we can fall deeper into the abyss, or we can find the courage to pick up the pieces, deal with our grief, and start moving forward. We can turn to our family, to our friends, seek professional help, but ultimately, the choice is ours. Now, I was just sent a quote that was credited to Josh Ship, and I want to tell you because it applies so well right here. His quote is, "You either get bitter or you get better." It's that simple. You either take what's been dealt to you and allow it to make you a better person, or you allow it to tear you down. The choice does not belong to fate. It belongs to you. And that's such a powerful statement, ladies and gentlemen. My guest today is Dominique Brightmon, who found himself in that abyss. However, he chose not to let his circumstances define him. Now, he is one of the happiest and most positive people you will ever meet, and you're going to hear this as we talk. Every interaction with Dom makes you feel better about yourself and gives you hope that the world is going to be okay. Let me tell you something about him. He's an award-winning speaker. He is a certified member of the John Maxwell team. He published his first book, Going North, Tips and Techniques to Advance Yourself, and his follow-up bestseller, Stay the Course, which is 7 Secret Keys to Sustaining Success. He's also a contributing author to another best-selling book called Crappy to Happy. He is the host of Going North podcast, which is a top-rated self-help podcast that interviews authors from all over the world. So, Dom, welcome to Life-Altering Events.
My man, the fabulous Frank, thanks a bunch for having me on. I appreciate you.
It has really been a lot of fun interacting with you these last few months. Dom, tell the viewers something about your background. Where were you born? What were some of your early influences?
Sure thing. So I hail from the land of charm, crime, and crabs known as Baltimore, Maryland. And that's where I got my start with this whole thing of life, and had 2 wonderful parents, a father who was in the 82nd Airborne Division, fought in both World War II and the Korean War. And my mom herself, she was a Southern girl, and she went through some hard times growing up in the South, in the South Carolina state, in a small town, having to really sometimes even walk to church with no shoes sometimes because her feet were bigger than the shoes that she had. So being able to take that pain and turn it into power to get a master's degree and start a family and be just really an example of what it means to be a great communicator, being my first ever teacher, is kind of where it all began, and it all really led down the road to eventually really just going to school, and heck, even liking books growing up, and then going to grade school, not liking books, and then getting a job at the public library, still not liking books, then have a life-altering event that makes me fall in love with books again. So really, education is probably one of the major themes of my life, whether it be in the classroom or just through life, like really just education away, and not just the classic education where you get the shiny receipt called a degree and you feel like you have the world by the jugular. No, it's really just the education that you have to do on your own.
It's the real world experiences that make the difference. A piece of paper is nice, and maybe it opens a door, but it's that real world stuff that makes the difference. Now, your mantra, I love this, is advance others to advance yourself. Where'd that come from?
Yes, I was reading this wonderful book called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, and in chapter 7, I believe the title was The Advancing Man. And it mentioned how an advancing personality is someone who doesn't give no thought to business, but how they can advance others. And I'm like, wait a second, advance others. And then it tied in with the Zig Ziglar quote of if you help enough others get what they want, you'll get what you want. And I was like, wait, let's shorten this. Advance others to advance yourself, because an advancing personality want to help others advance in life because others have done the same for me. And just taking it to another level, since I'm a big Zig Ziglar fan and he's one of the all-time greats. And it's just really just taking those two philosophies, combining them and just applying it to my own life. And that's something I seek to do, because that's really where the magic happens, because we all need each other. Like, we're relational beings. We're better together as opposed to apart. Even introverts who claim they only can people for so long when they're out and about being a social butterfly, when truth be told, at the end of the day, they still need human connection. So that's really where it all came from. Just doing some studying and just doing some self-reflection and combining both of those philosophies and living it out for myself.
Zig Ziglar is a real interesting character. I worked for NCR like 100 years ago, and he was vice president at NCR, and he just went around and gave talks, right? So he was up talking, and he was talking to IBM, and someone came up to him and he says, "You're giving away your secrets. Aren't you afraid your competition is going to take these ideas?" And he says, "We can't even get our own people to listen to these ideas." So I'm impressed by you that not only did you hear it, but you took action. As most people will listen and say, "Oh, that's pretty good," but then they don't do anything. Now, we met, we're both involved with the book Crappy to Happy with Ariel Patricia and Kat Cavanis. And I loved your story. Would you share that story with the viewers?
My pleasure indeed, Frank, and it's great to be in that book with you. The best-selling novel, baby, Crappy to Happy, Secret Stories of Transformational Joy. And the crappy that eventually became the happy was late July 2012, back in the year where we thought the world was going to end, but all that really happened is that folks had a couple paradigm shifts in life, and we lost Twinkies for a month. And I'm not even a big fan of Twinkies, but I just like saying that because it's just so freaking random. But
it's good.
But yeah, that month of July, my father actually went out for a drive that Saturday afternoon after mom got back home from afternoon of bowling with her friends from church. And he just went out for a drive, and we just thought, okay, cool. He just wanted some time for himself. Mom's home now, so that's cool. And nighttime came, still wasn't home. Sunday morning came, still wasn't home. Sunday afternoon came, still wasn't home. And we were like, okay, it's been a little 24 hours here. It's kind of strange. So we called his cell phone. He wouldn't pick it up. It wouldn't answer. He probably forgot to charge his phone again. And me and my brother, my older brother at the time, we went out. We drove a bit around Baltimore County area looking for him, his usual spots, grocery stores and things like that. And just really just going to his local regular places he likes to go, and still didn't find him. We talked to his brother, my Uncle Reds, and because sometimes he likes to visit his brother as to say hi, and sometimes spends the night with him and all that good stuff. And still, he didn't see him either. He said he never seen him. And we're like, okay, well, we just had to really call the police after that and put out a silver alert for him, since, of course, he had the wonderful silver hair and all, the sign of wisdom and age and everything. And after that call, where the police officers came about a half hour or so later, took his information, the description, and a few hours went by, and it was around, I say around a good 1:30 in the morning. And I was gaming. I was playing Xbox at the time, just take my mind off of things. And I decided to get on my knees and pray. So I basically put the game on pause, got on my knees and prayed, and asked God for his help and his guidance to help really have my father show up. And halfway through the prayer, asking for God's help, the phone rings. And it was a police officer in Silver Spring, Maryland, a good 45 miles away from Baltimore. And we were like, oh, okay, this is strange. And they told us that they found our father, and he was driving on the wrong side of the road, and they checked him into Holy Cross Hospital since that silver alert was put out for him. And both my mom and myself, my mom took the call, and I just basically eavesdropped because she was so excited and so frazzled that they found him and found him alive that She didn't know what the heck to do. She was like, Silver Spring, how the heck am I going to get to Silver Spring? Like it's one of those good times to have a kid or millennial in your household because they know how to do things. So Google Maps helped us out. We drove to Silver Spring and we recruited my Uncle Rids and we were able to find him. And when we got to the hospital, they told us that he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's because they did memory tests and everything, and it all wasn't there. And the signs were there for weeks, but we just assumed it was just old age because folks get forgetful. Heck, even I get forgetful from time to time. And we just didn't realize, oh, crap. All right. Wow. So after that, no more driving for him. And my mother, she was already sick before he even was diagnosed. She had AFib and that irregular heartbeat on top of everything else that she was going through. So basically having to pick up the slack that my dad was doing, taking her to her doc's appointments on top of that. And a few weeks later, getting into a car accident on my 21st birthday, which looking back is actually one of the greatest gifts of my life because it's really one of the most powerful stories in my life, because even though that accident, it sucked at the time, and thank God I didn't have any injuries walking out of it, still able to walk out of it, it still showed me that, hey, life can be gone in an instant. Like life is just a vapor, as the cliche goes, because it's so darn true. Life can be long and short. Like you may think life may be long, especially those last few minutes of a work shift, but it can go away so quickly nowadays, especially in this day and age where folks are dying every day, and it might be your turn. And if it's not your turn, you just got to show gratitude for that. So really just that series of events, and it didn't even stop there. Like after that, a couple weeks later, after the car accident, after finding out my dad had Alzheimer's, I was called into the boss's office in a meeting because she brought up all these things where I was screwing up here with some miscommunication issues with some of my colleagues. And I was a good 5-year veteran at the time with the part-time job at a local library. And she was going to have a few new staff hires come in soon. And they're going to be a little bit on the young side of the game, college students like myself. And she was like, hey, like you're going to be a leader here, and they're going to be looking to you as a leader because you've been here for a while, and they're going to assume you know what you're doing. Like you got to shape up here. And little did I know that the word leader actually triggered something in my mind subconsciously, because little did I know, a couple weeks later after that meeting, I went to the leadership section of the library when I was shelving books, picked up one of John Maxwell's books, The 5 Laws of Leadership, changed my life, and just became a voracious reader and fell in love with the reading again, and just really transformed my life for the better, where now I get to say I've penned a couple books, and I now know a bunch of other people, that inspirational people that inspire me to do great things, and just really turning that pain into power and turning that crappy into happy.
Mm-hmm. I was told at multiple times in real down periods in my life, the advice was, don't look behind you. You're not going that way. And then they added, pick up the pieces and start moving forward, and better times and better people will come into your life. And you are the absolute perfect example of that. That's a lot of stuff to go through for a young man. Your dad, the accident, the job issue, and you're still very young at the time. So you found this new energy. All right, this is it. I'm moving forward. You joined Toastmasters at a very young age, very young age. What inspired you to start the speaking?
Yeah, the speaking, that actually stemmed from years of just being a church boy, to be honest, because I grew up in the church. Because if I wasn't at home at school or outside playing with friends, I was usually at church and just reciting scriptures every week for the children's inspirational moment. And our church at its peak probably could fit 800 to 1,000 people in the sanctuary. So having that head start, just even if it's for those 30 to 90 seconds reciting scripture, you get that confidence ahead of time. And heck, even at a higher level, even doing a couple plays, especially one time I had to play the role of Jesus, and I had to remember a lot of lines. It was a lot. Like it, I'm not even sure if I could do that role again today. It was just, and they even cut out some of the content too. They wanted me to remember almost all of Matthew 5 for the role. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. And I'm glad they took that out because that play would have been 3 hours. I wanted to keep it at 2 hours. But long story short, really just about just having that head start. And folks have been telling me for years I got this radio voice. I'm like, all right, let me take this to the next level, because with that upbringing in church helping me to nurture that gift that God gave me, there was also another piece of that, because at the church, before I found Toastmasters, there was this ministry called the Corporate Development Ministry, and it was a new group, probably about a good 5 of us, 3 or 4 or 5 of us. And one of the activities we wanted to do for the year was a public speaking seminar, and that was just one item on there was probably like 50 different things to choose from. And just really just wanted to help the community become better, equip the community with skills that they need. And public speaking is one of those skills, because that'll set you apart past the competition. Even in today's society, especially in this virtual age, you open your mouth, you're going to get fed. If you keep your mouth closed, you're not going to get fed. So just basically volunteering for that role, taking up that role, and learning about Toastmasters through one of Brian Tracy's audiobooks, I was able to actually get the confidence and pick up a few things from Toastmaster meetings that helped me to run a successful public speaking seminar. One of the major things that I still keep to this day from that event was I basically broke down the seminar. It was about a good 2 hours. It was broken down into pieces. So the first part was the wonderful instruction, the keynote. A buddy of mine, he did the whole keynote. We went for an hour, and then on the agenda, audience participation was after that, in between the 15 to 30-minute break. And I had about 95 people show up for the keynote. And after the break, I was down to 10 people, 10 brave souls. So that public speaking fear is real.
That's a great story. You walk out, I'm prepared, I'm ready, and oh my God, where'd everybody go?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make sure agendas don't mention that at all. I'm like, all right, people really are. They ain't kidding. They rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy for that one. But yeah, it was definitely that experience, getting that confidence and just taking Toastmasters and really using it as a laboratory for growth. And it's a low cost investment that everyone should really do, to be honest, because Toastmasters for me, like it helped me to make quantum leaps in life. I don't think I probably would have been talking with you today, Frank, if I didn't join Toastmasters 7 years ago, because it's an organization where it's so cost effective. About $90 a year, because the dues are probably like $45 every 6 months, just to practice public speaking and leadership. And for those that want to be a leader, or they may want to get a promotion at their job and eventually manage people, they should really lead in a volunteer organization, because that's what Toastmasters helped me to do. I originally wanted to get into management, and I didn't get a promotion at the time when I was going for it the first time. So I went ahead and took up more roles in Toastmasters, where I basically got my feet wet with managing volunteers, metaphorically and for real. And after that experience, I'm like, you know what? I don't think I want to be in management. I think I'm good. I'm just going to focus more on making the side hustle a reality and try to do my entrepreneurial thing on the side along with my full-time work, because the managing people, it's an uphill battle. I could do the job, yes, but I don't want to go home drained every day, punching a wall out of aggression because someone screwed up something that was so simple. And I'm basically being a parent to grown up. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was told as I was moving up, and I took the other path. And one of the senior vice presidents at AT&T, who I worked for, said, Frank, this is adult daycare. Get used to it. That's what it is. The higher you go, the more adult daycare you're doing. That was wild.
It is.
You have, right. Dom, you have this incredible ability to incorporate very powerful statements that you make, and you are able to incorporate laughter and humor into your talks. Was that natural, or is this something you developed along the way?
It's a combination of both, because this is something I work on daily, because in this life of brevity, you need levity. And I try to insert levity within almost all my interactions, because we all need laughter. And heck, even a lovely shout out to the fabulous Connie Bramer we've had on your
Mm-hmm.
show in the past with the group Laughter Inspiration, because it's something that we all need with life getting tough and everything. Because I do have a gift of humor that I didn't know about, because my first day as a summer youth intern at the library back in 2007, my supervisor asked me, he's like, "Hey, I think I've seen you before. You come here a lot?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I come here twice a year." And everybody just that was basically their reaction, because at the time I was an outsider. I just came to the library twice a year because I had two big writing projects for class. And little did I know, after working there for a few months, I was like, "Oh wow, people come here every day." So no wonder they laughed at me, because that was
Twice a year.
the yeah, exactly, because that was the reality. Like heck, even one of the security guards I worked with at the time, he was like, "I see some people here 6 days out of the week more than I see my wife." Like, people come to the library that often because it's a community center.
Right.
But just humor like that, just being unintentionally funny, to the point where, since now I'm in the space of public speaking, I intentionally work on my humor, and I work to uncover my humor and usually take notes. Like, if someone gets a laugh out of it, then I'm gonna be basically
Write
beating
that
that
down.
joke into the ground forever.
New audience. new material. You mentioned Connie Bremer, and I love Connie, and she's been on my show too. And ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't ever seen Laughter and Inspiration on Facebook, go. One of the first things I do every day, I get up, go through the gratitude. What am I grateful about today? Look on Facebook to see what Connie posts in Laughter and Inspiration. Start your day off with a smile. Makes life way better, way better. Now, Dom, you're a certified member of John Maxwell. A lot of people have heard about this John Maxwell program, but they don't know a lot about it. How did this program help you? What did it do?
This program is basically just an addition to what I'm already doing, because I joined officially in 2019, and I heard about it through a couple friends in Toastmasters who went through the program and just basically took their leadership game to the next level. And really, this program, like, to be honest, I've barely scratched the surface of what it can really do, because there's so much. You basically have access to all of John Maxwell's content, and really just to be able to run coaching groups from it, mastermind groups, and do one-on-one coaching, leadership training, heck, even leadership development, and also even disc assessment training. Excuse me. If you want to do that sort of thing. And it's just so much. It's just so much. What it's really helped me to do is really just add that to the resume, what I'm already doing, and just really help others to really embrace that leadership side. Because really, out of this, I've really discovered that my main lane right now is self-leadership, because from the cradle to the grave, we lead ourselves the longest before we lead anyone else. It's kind of like the whole volunteer organization leadership, like trying to lead there first before trying to get to any higher level to really get your feet wet. We really have to start with ourselves first. And really, it's just been one heck of a way to connect with others, a powerful group of people that can help you to really just a lot of more business for yourself, whether it's through the coaching or the speaking. And they're both tracks. And heck, even I didn't even know until last year that you can actually become a better speaker through the John Maxwell team, because they actually have a speaking lane. Now, granted, I don't use that one because I've been doing Toastmasters for 7 years on top of everything else. So it's like, yeah, I can always use more polish and everything, but I don't need to go that far back. But yeah, it's been one heck of a journey just to be able to add that to what I'm already doing, and just be one of John's legacy legs to help continue his message long after he's gone, and eventually turn it into something even more positive to change the world for better.
That's outstanding. I know some people who have been in it, including one cousin of mine who's 18 years old and won an award.
Nice.
And I was Wait, you're 18 years old, for God's sakes. But, I I couldn't find my shoes when I was 18. She's out changing the world. Amazing. It's crazy. Now, Dom, in your book, Going North, you had a quote, and I hope I pronounce his name right here, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. I hope I didn't butcher his name too badly. And what it was knowing is not enough. We must apply. Willingness is not enough. We must do. Why is that so important to you that you put it in your book?
It's so important, and I got to give you kudos because you did research. Like, this is the first time someone actually asked me about that quote in that actual book in the 4 years that book has been out. So you definitely research your guest like it's a menu, Frank. You're definitely fabulous, level 99. But why I put that quote in the book is because it's so true, because we can know everything and do nothing. We can go to all the seminars in the world and do nothing with it. Funny enough, I was listening to a Facebook Live the other day, and he actually mentioned how you shouldn't leave with a pocket full of jewels and a pocket full of lint, because sometimes people leave with these metaphorical jewels of wisdom, do nothing with it, and they're left broke with nothing but lint in their pocket. And that's really why I put that in the book, because we have to really just do the work. Like, yeah, you're not going to get paid metaphorically every time you speak and open your mouth at the time. Sometimes you'll have to do things for free and actually transform and use that content to get paid later and just build up your body of work. And just that quote alone is really why I put that in there, is because really we have to really do the work. We can be inspired and be motivated, but you have to do something with it. It's like you run through the brick wall. It's like, all right, so you broke through the brick wall. So you're in the city. What's next?
Exactly. A lot of real smart people not doing anything, telling you how to fix the problems, but not taking any action. Now I'm going to paraphrase here, Dom. One of the things I've heard you say, and I think when we were on Kat Kavanaugh's together, you said, and Kat's wonderful, you said, you have to listen deeply. When you're engaged, listen deeply. What is listening deeply?
Yes, listening deeply is something that a lot of folks should experience in their lives. If it may not be able to happen every day, depending on the situation, but everybody's experienced this. And this is when you're truly focused on the person that is talking, that is speaking. You're making great eye contact with them. No, you're not staring them down and trying to stare into their soul and see where they're going to end up when they die. Like, no, you're not doing that. It's just really just having great eye contact, being fully present in the moment. Because when you listen to people talk, you get to pick up things. And sometimes people may even come to you for advice, not knowing that they themselves have the key to their victory. And it's kind of like with coaching. Coaching is a lot more listening than talking than anything else, because they bring you their problems and then they give you their stories, and then you help point them in a direction they may not have thought of in the first place. Because, like, funny story from early days of work, I had a colleague, and he was probably good 19 at the time, so of course teenage hormones is gonna go crazy a bit, and he was asking this female colleagues, okay, so your friend, would you kiss her? And she's like, no. And the thing was, I was in the conversation. It was like, hey, you could just kiss her on the cheek or the forehead. And she was like, I didn't think of that. It's like context clues and listening to the stuff that hasn't been said. Like, that may not be the best example, but it's an example of how sometimes why you should really be aware in the moment and listen deeply, because she didn't think of that. She was just thinking of the classic face-to-face and the lip sort of thing.
Right.
She didn't think about the other places. And even though it was a dumb question from him, and even though I kind of helped assist her with the with the dumb question afterwards, it's just little moments like that is why we should listen deeply, because you never know. Like, there's some context clues that are missing, and when you listen deeply and you're truly aware, you really know what's going on. It can really add to a person's life and help them think in a different way they may not have thought in the first place.
That's perfect. It's something we talk about is you don't know what you don't know. So listen to somebody who may have been there before. It opens doors. Now, Don, we both talk about the need to change and for reinvention. Now, in your book, Stay the Course, you had a quote, and again, I hope I pronounce his name right, George St. Pierre. And I love this.
You got him.
When status quo becomes your main weapon, your arsenal is diminished. When you can find no other way than repetition, your mistakes are compounded into defeat. All right, big question. Why is it so hard for people to make these changes despite overwhelming evidence that change is needed? What do you see? What do you tell people?
Yeah, it's usually ourselves. That's why it's so hard to change. We hate change. We hate change. You heck, you scroll through social media and folks making small changes to their news feed, you'd be like, oh, why are you changing my screen? Why are we replying to a status that was 2 days old? Like, what's going on? And we all hate change, even those that love to say that they're all about change. We all hate change. If somebody, like, if there's a detour you have to take in the road, we're going to be mad because they're going to be late for work. Like, we hate change. And that's the main reason why. And ourselves, especially, like, with, funny enough, like, for years and years, probably about 2-3 years, like, folks have been saying, build your email list, build your email list. And a buddy of mine, I forgot her name, she actually had a Facebook account for probably about a good 10 years, had thousands of friends, lots of photos, lots of memories, of course, business stuff too. And her account randomly got deleted out of nowhere, and she hasn't recovered it yet. So all that contact information that she lost, like, it could have been, like, I'm not sure how big her email list was, but just stuff like that, just horror stories of that, where you just lose a Facebook account that you had for a while that you're using for business as well. Just losing that just helped me to realize, you know what, I should probably start doing a newsletter, no matter how small. If I don't have nothing too big to add, then just don't send anything out, because that was my major thing. Like with emails, I'm sure we all have thousands of emails in our inboxes and spam and whatnot. I didn't want to be more spam in someone's inbox, but I had to fight the fact that, you know what, I'm adding value to the world, even if it's a small piece, and I might as well share that small piece with others, and just getting over myself and realizing that I have to make this change here. And life is always going to be moving forward. Like, that life moves at the speed of time, and the speed of time feels like faster than the speed of light. But of course, when it's not those last few hours of your work shift or whatever, but really just having to adjust and be open to making those adjustments that we need. So definitely getting ourselves out of the way and just making sure we focus on the better and not just the good.
We had on a radio show several months ago, we had a change expert on, and she said something that just really blew me away. I was a medic in the military during the Vietnam War, and I actually saw this happen. She said 90% of people will not change, even if not changing means they're going to die. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how much inertia there is for trying to make that change. And what I love about what you do is it's a very subtle push. You're not hitting somebody over the head. You're not the minister, fire and brimstone. It's very subtle pushing people. Did you pick all that up through your travels with Toastmaster and John Maxwell? Is that where all that came from? That ability?
Yeah, it's just really just that. And heck, even my father, he was the same way. He wasn't in your face. He was a chill guy, he was really enjoying life, and heck, even making people laugh in conversation, especially when he's around other guys. So yeah, just really, really just the influences of really all around me. If it's not the parents or the books I read or the people I try to keep myself around and keep in my ears, it's usually through Toastmasters or JMT. So yeah, it's all that, combining all of it.
Wonderful. Well, we're getting close to the end here, Dom. With all you've accomplished and everything that you have done, what last thoughts do you want to leave with the viewers today?
Last thoughts would be, to basically take that first step into finding your own greatness. And if you already have taken that first step, take another step to making sure that you can not only sustain it, but also go for greater. Because really, there's something called the good zone where we all like to be in it every now and then. The good zone is where it's comfortable. But really, we're going to have to be uncomfortable for a while if we really want to get something that we want to get out of life. So, really, just focus on taking that one step forward, no matter how big or small it is, and just keep up that momentum, because that's really where the big victories are going to happen, is through them small steps. And once you get a victory, make sure you keep going, because when you get a win, that's usually when you're most vulnerable for an attack from an outside party, whether it's through critics or through your own laziness, like myself from time to time. Like, make sure you keep going no matter what and keep pushing forward.
That is outstanding. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, we're just about out of time. I want to thank my guest, Dominique Brightmon, for sharing this inspirational story of his life and his success, his books, and his humor. Now, ladies and gentlemen, no matter what life throws at you, I want you to do three things. Please do these three things. Look up, get up, never, ever give up. As Dom said, keep moving forward, pick up the pieces, and better times and better people will come into your life. If you'd like more information about Dominique, you can contact him directly, or you can contact me and I'll make sure it gets to him. You can see this on ROKU TV, on my YouTube page, and I will also send links to Dominique, and you can see it to all the places that he posts his material. Now, let me leave you with this, ladies and gentlemen. None of us are in this alone. And the secret to walking on water is to know where the rocks are. Join me again next week. We discuss another life-altering event. Thank you.